You know, it is time for spooky month, but it's only September. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's Netflix original TV review of Haunted Hotel. This is a series that is created by Matt Roller. Okay, from executive producers Chris McKenna and Dan Harmon, as well as Matt Roller, we have Haunted Hotel, which is a new TV 14 animated horror show. It's a show about a family, especially a mother and her two kids, who basically run this hotel that is inhabited by spirits. Her brother, who's played, of course, and voiced by Will Forte, is an individual who is a spirit who actually helps out with the family. And it basically is a story about this family running this hotel with a bunch of crazy stories that involve like psychics and like killer stabby people and, you know, a murderer in the Friday the 13th sense and all kinds of stuff, you know, possession, all that kind of stuff. So it's like if you took like, you know, Hotel Transylvania and throw it into a haunted house setting, and it has crazy over the top characters. We have a young girl who is kind of the headstrong girl who like likes the kind of odd entities and stuff like that. And then we have the boy who's like the very cliched kind of, you know, weird offbeat individual. We have the dead brother who's like the campy, goofy, over the top character. And then we have a character voiced by Jimmi Simpson who plays Abaddon, who's like this possessed demon who possesses this young 17th century boy who loves to create chaos and all kinds of stuff. It's basically an animated version of just like chaos incarnate, but in a horror hotel setting with a bunch of wacky stories in 10 episode setting. So it's very much in the vein of like a Rick and Morty, or like I said, Hotel Transylvania if it were a TV series. And it explores this group of people who live in this hotel and have to deal with those scenarios and stuff like that. So there you go. So when it comes to like Steve Levy and Dan Harmon and Chris McKenna and then now Matt Roller, you know you're probably going to get something special and fun. Whether it's good and like the most creative and most original thing ever, that remains to be seen, because a lot of the stuff they work on, you know, Rick and Morty's, it's unique, but it's not original. And the same thing with like Community, and same thing with a lot of stuff, you know, like Hotel Transylvania and now this. There is not a lot of like originality, but if they can make the show fun, they can make it entertaining, and we can have characters that are goofy and over the top and silly, but add some really cool horror aspects and add some really interesting story elements, and just kind of have really cool aesthetics in what they're doing, it can work. It can be non-original and still work and be funny and entertaining. So I was really looking forward to Haunted Hotel when I first saw the trailer for it. And I love Will Forte, even though at least from the trailer, it looked like he was doing the same old shtick that he usually does, which is like this really overzealous, kind of goofy, you know, like warm-hearted, but just kind of doesn't understand his logic and reasoning. And then you have Skyler, Gisondo, Natalie, Palamides, and Jimmi Simpson, and Eliza Coupe, who are the main characters of this movie, or this show, I should say. And once again, it also has a bunch of cast members that come in, like, you know, Kumail Nanjiani and so on and so forth. So it's like a who's who of like character actors and stuff like that. And it has production companies like Titmouse and, you know, so on and so forth working on the animation. So with that said, going into it, I knew that this probably wouldn't be a very original show, but at least I expected to have fun with it. And that's exactly what it is. It's not a very original show. There are scenarios that play out like human drama and over the top scenarios of like a broken snow globe that causes demons to rise, and you know, an ant that arrives and causes chaos, and then, you know, Abaddon, who's just like this over the top silly demonic character, and just like the nature of what's going on. But there is some original stuff. Like there's an episode where like a bedroom like tries to seduce the main character of Catherine, and then there's like, you know, episodes about why Will Forte's Nathan character is dead and stuff like that. And it becomes not only a fun animated series, but it has a lot of depth to it. It has a lot of energy to it. The characters are all fun. They're all entertaining. They get into wild and wacky scenarios, but the world around them and the ghosts around them, and the fact that this town isn't really kind of scared by the ghosts, and the people who stay at the hotel aren't really scared by the ghosts. There's this one segment where this woman loses all her shoes and she's freaked out, but most of the people that stay in this are just kind of, they go with it when there's a ghost. Like when the ant comes down, it's just like she kind of goes with it. It really is just kind of, they've been doing this for quite a while. This group has been running this hotel for quite a while, so things just happen. Things are out of wacky place. It's a hotel that just is, you know, alive and breathing, but it's just bonkers and haunted and stuff like that. And from the moment the series gets going, it knows what it is. It knows what it's trying to be. It knows that it's not going to, be something truly unique, but it knows that it's going to have fun and it's going to be energetic. And Matt Roller is going to create some interesting, fun scenarios with his writing and directing staff. And he has Dan Harmon to help him out, so the humor is very of the kind of irreverent and raunchy and kind of crass in a lot of respects, but it also, what it does and what Dan Harmon and his crew are known for doing is create likable characters and create likable scenarios and entertaining scenarios. So even if it goes over the top and silly like Rick and Morty does, it does it with actually aplomb, and it actually does it with reverence. It actually has really interesting kind of concepts and ideas that actually pay off in the end, because like I said, this gets into the haunted territory, the horror territory of like the scenarios. Is once again, it's doing like I said, a room that seduces a woman. It goes into demons that break out of a snow globe, and it goes into all kinds of scenarios. There's so many different scenarios in this show, but I really do think like the cast really works well together. I think they have great chemistry. I think once again, Jimmi Simpson's Abaddon is like the standout of the series, but Esther and Ben, the two kids, have great moments, and Catherine has great moments, even though I think her character is the least interesting of the show, because you have to go up against people like Forte and Skyler Gisondo, Jimmi Simpson, and Natalie Palamides. And it really is a struggle for Eliza Coupe to do her character, because she has to play it straight for a lot of it. But the moment she's in the Catherine character, it really works. But like I said, also the supporting cast, the other B&B host is really funny, and all the ghosts are great. We have like a stabbing character. We have a character that loves candles. There's like a Cthulhu character. And like I said, the rooms have different interesting ideas. And once again, the supporting cast, like the different horror ghosts and stuff like that, they all have fun characterizations to them, and they have fun kind of meanings and behind what they are. There's like a ghost that's very much a Western kind of trope, and there's one, like I said, that's a very stabby kind of 70s trope character. And it also, once again, it deals with cults, and it deals with all these types of things, but it also deals the family at heart. The last episode deals with like a really cool scenario with Abaddon, and then there's the stuff with Nathan's character and what he has to deal with, and being a ghost and stuff like that, and how wacky he is, but he still is there for his sister, and there's like kind of a nice kind of relationship there, because he's dead and she's not. And it really is kind of playing off that kind of spirited dimension when it comes to, for instance, what we saw, like I said, Rick and Morty, where the sister and the brother and of course the grandfather and stuff like that have great chemistry that kind of pops up later on in the series. But if there's one thing I didn't like about this series, at least for the first season, is I think it goes a little too samey, a little too tropey. It doesn't really distinguish itself very much from the tropes and stuff you've seen before in other shows. I think it gets a little too wacky sometimes. The horror elements get a little too strong and like over the top silliness. But that's really it. I think it's a really well produced show. It's one of those shows that I had a lot of fun with. I felt like it was a good first season that they could expand upon as long as they do a second season. Netflix is not known for keeping their series alive for very long. So if at least they do 2 or 3 seasons, I think that would work pretty well. Worked for Big Mouth, so why can't they do it with this show? I'm assuming it's not a very expensive show, but it has a lot of heart to it. I think that's help from Matt Roller's, his direction and his creativity of working on stuff like Rick and Morty. And I think the cast is really strong, and then the guest actors they bring in really help the show kind of find its footing later on in the seasons. But overall, I can't recommend this show enough. It's a lot of fun. It's not original, but it's a fun take on this type of genre of just wacky characters and wacky scenarios doing wacky stuff, but this time in a horror haunted hotel setting with really fun over the top silly characterizations. Once again, there's a train that comes through the hotel that's a haunted train, which I thought was pretty great. And there's actually references to other movies and shows that I'm not going to spoil, but you'll know if you've ever seen those movies, but you'll like. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is my take on Haunted Hotel, the first season. Like I said, highly recommended. So there you go. With that said, thank you so much for watching my review. I do appreciate it. In the comments below, are you looking forward to this show? Have you seen any trailers for the show? Do you like these types of animated shows? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. As always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.